Hi, this is Matt at Engadget, and today we're taking a tour through the Nokia Lumia 920. This is the company's new Windows Phone 8 flagship, and it's another lovely slice of white unibody polycarbonate. This one's got a glossy finish, which is a bit annoying for anyone that has smudgy fingers or doesn't like fingerprints on their phones, but otherwise it's another very sturdy, solid, classy bit of phone design. You also notice that, perhaps compared to the models before, the metal detail both on the camera and on the buttons is actually a darker colour, and it's looking pretty nice. It looks a little bit more mature, a little bit more strained. This is obviously the 8 megapixel camera sensor. It's also got a Carl Zeiss lens, and there's a dual LED flash right next to it there. On the top you'll find both access to the SIM tray, that's a micro SIM and not a nano SIM, and space for the headphone socket. Along the right edge there you'll find the volume rocker, the power switch, and the two-stage camera button, again all in the same finish as the camera unit on the back. And along the bottom edge there you'll be able to see a bit of detail here. On the bottom you'll find some micro drilled holes that act as the speaker access. It's actually mono-aural despite there being two, and in the middle there you find the micro USB ports. On the other edge there's nothing in particular, just the lovely curvature of the handset. There's actually a slight curve to the back as well, which actually helps it fit in our hands a little better, because we found the phone in general, it feels pretty big. There's a 4.5-inch screen, but it's a bit borderline. Either your hands will cope with it or they won't. We found we've just been able to reach the outer limits of the screen, and so we haven't had too much of a problem with it. But for smaller hands that could be an issue. Now the screen itself is actually pretty impressive. It's 4.5-inch IPS display at a resolution of 1200 by 768 pixels. So they're calling it better than high definition, which is true, I guess. It's better than 720, but obviously this is not a 1080p display, at least not quite yet. Behind that, this also got a super sensitive capacitive screen, which means you'll be able to use it with gloves on or even with your nails. If we take it, obviously we've just got pretty boring nails here, but if we use the back of one, you can see we can still scroll up and down, we can still adjust these live tiles if we just hold it. It's just like using it with your finger, really. You can actually turn it off in the menu if you find it's a little bit oversensitive, but we found during our tests that we've had no issues with it whatsoever, really. Nokia's also focused a lot of its attentions on that camera unit, but you're going to have to read our full review to check out our sample images and see how it fares against the smartphone Elite. Now Nokia's also put a lot of effort into the imaging tech you'll find in here. Alongside that 8 megapixel sensor, there's a Carl Zeiss lens and optical image stabilization. Now that is an actual physical entity. That means the lens and the sensor inside are actually floating, which means it absorbs some of the tremors and shakes you have when you're trying to take a picture with your phone. This also means that it lets more light in, although if you don't need that, there's obviously the dual LED flash there. Now this is a 720p video sample we took earlier this week. As you can see, the colours are very vibrant, lighting adjusts very quickly, and we'll soon move around with the camera and you can see, yeah, there's just not the typical shuttering or wobble you get from recording on other smartphones. Aside from the video quality, which is really quite good, low light photography is also superb on the Lumia 920. As is to be expected, it floods the image with light even when there's not much around, and it beats all the other phones we've tried in similar settings. Unfortunately, on natural light it performed less well. Check out the full review for our comparisons with other smartphones. Now this is obviously Windows Phone 8. This is the second phone we've had to play with after HTC's 8X, so it goes in direct competition with that. This phone actually has a slightly larger screen, and it also generally just feels bigger in the hand. We're not sure whether it's HTC's clever bezeling, but Nokia's just really does weigh down a little bit more. There is a slight weight difference. This one does weigh a bit more, but footprint wise, I mean, the whole phone in general matches HTC's phone. As you can see there, they line up pretty well, and even if we turn it to the side, at the thickest point of both bezels, they're not far off each other. It's just the curves in the HTC phone feel more comfortable in our hands. Having said that, the screen on the Nokia device is far more capable, brighter, and the colours just appear better. Now the Lumia 920 will be replacing Nokia's 900 model as its new flagship Windows Phone device, and as you can immediately tell, there's a whole lot in common here, not only by the size of the devices themselves. Now if we take a look at the profile of the phones, you'll see that the 900 actually has a flat back, while there's just a slight curve to the 920, which makes it a little easier to handle. The camera sensor is in almost the identically same position on both handsets, although the 900 obviously has this matte finish, which we kind of prefer. And sadly the 920 won't be coming in a cyan version, although there will be yellow and red available to purchase. The 920 is Nokia's first phone to run Windows Phone 8, so as you can tell, if you've used Windows 7, you're going to find it a pretty familiar setup here. The tiles now have 3 different size settings depending on who made them. You have this full screen option, down to a 4x4, and also down to a 1, which means this display is actually very adjustable. You can actually move everything around or completely declutter it and keep everything just in the scrollable app list like you can see here. Now Nokia's added a few things to hopefully try to make up for the lack of apps in general from Windows Phone markets. And some ones worth highlighting include Nokia Maps, which is just as good as we remember it. You're able to download whole maps of a country. We downloaded the whole of the UK, and whether it's thanks to the new OS or to that dual-core Snapdragon processor, we found it was superbly responsive, and yeah, a pinch to zoom works super quick. And obviously you have Nokia Drive offering turn-by-turn navigation if you want it. Now that S4 processor is also complemented by 1GB of RAM and 32GB of space, which is good considering there's no expandable storage. But it's also nice to see that the flagship device already comes with enough storage to keep you going. Microsoft are also offering 7GB of space on SkyDrive, but yeah, you'll either love it or loathe it when it comes to how heavily integrated SkyDrive is. We found it pretty difficult to move our pictures across and transition any files we wanted from SkyDrive to our phone. There's a few teeth drummers there that still need to be fixed, really. And unfortunately, even with Nokia's efforts, the app selection is still lacking. If you use Spotify, bizarrely that isn't here on Windows Phone 8. If you use Instagram, it's still not here. Dropbox likewise. And SkyDrive just isn't remotely as intuitive as what we've become accustomed to on Dropbox. So if you use those kind of apps, you're going to find you might not get what you need from Windows Phone. The hardware is again superb, like HTC's 8X. We kind of want to see Android on this kind of hardware, especially with the clarity of the screen afforded here. If you're not using apps, then perhaps this is the phone for you. Google is more easily integrated than ever, although it isn't quite up to the degree of Android devices. And Microsoft's mobile OS does continue to go from strength to strength. The phone launches in November, and it will be coming exclusively to EE in the UK and on AT&T in the US. Check our full review at engadget.com. Thanks for watching.